Hello, hi Claudio. Sorry, everybody,
Hello.
already on the stream. A few technical issues, but I hope we can all have a laugh about it. Hello,
Hello. I was thinking
everyone.
about joining with a pair of sunglasses like the critical drinker, but then I thought it wasn't a good idea. I mean,
Just to hide, I should be wearing sunglasses to hide my
yeah, I mean, okay,
shame.
okay being silly, not okay being an idiot. So,
Great. Well, welcome along, everyone. I can see a few of us are already here. Welcome. Um, Harry says he likes the intro music. Let's do it again. Yeah, that did happen. All right. Well, let's just get straight into this. We are going to have a chat about writing with humour. We'll tell you who that is for, why. I hope everyone can see and hear me now. It's saying that we're live. Yes. All right, we are. Yes, sorry, very flustered start. Let's get down to business. Claudio, welcome along. Who are you and why are we here?
yeah, apart from being the coolest person on earth right now, and yeah, and probably the best, most successful LinkedIn influencer you ever heard of, that's why you don't know me. I am a freelance writer. I wrote mostly serious stuff, which is kind of the opposite of what we're talking now, because I worked for a lot of companies like the pharmaceutical industry, but also big names like Microsoft, Intuit, Neil Patel, Greylock, Riverside, a lot of them. But I also wrote some very successful humor content. A few years ago, I worked for Cracked.com. You probably People probably remember that from back when it was funny. Now it isn't. But it's not my fault as well. I went away much earlier before it become not funny. And mostly I keep funny stuff for LinkedIn, like I'm being a clown. But besides that, I did everything you can imagine in this field of work, from data analysis to AI prompting, whatever. I mean, I'm the kind of person who doesn't shy telling you that I'm doing this for the money, instead for the fun. So that's who I am, and I want to teach you a few things about writing humor things, humor content, how to be funny in life, in working life where there is nothing funny about, because there's nothing funny about LinkedIn or whatever, but you can still try to be funny and, you know, find ways to earn a little bit more, because that's why we are in, why we are selling our dignity on that.
Great, thanks for that intro. I would hasten to say that money and funny are not mutually exclusive. Let's hope they're not, but we're going to have a few laughs along the way anyway. I invited Claudio onto this. I don't know what we're calling it, a live cast, because he's someone that I think is funny, that balances being a serious professional writer with uh, selling his services in a funny way. So that's what we're going to talk about. Also, he's someone who uses English as a second language, and that's generally who I work with and help, and what I'm interested in too. Uh, Very quickly, my background with funny stuff is I am a self-deprecating British writer who likes the comedy greats and always been interested in comedy. It's something I feel I can't really take out of my writing. So along the way on my sort of journey to being a writing coach and a professional writer myself, it's something that creeps into all of my work. So I write hopefully funny content on LinkedIn sometimes and Medium, other places, and also funny books. I'm just doing a children's book. So that's a little bit more about myself and Claudio. Stick around. We're going to tell you who this is for and then get into why we should be funny and how we can be funny. And we welcome your questions. So if you're there, just tell us in the chat who you are, where you're from, and if you are currently a funny person or looking to get funnier. All right. With all of that out of the way, let's answer this question. Who is this live cast for? Who should be watching, paying attention? What kind of writers is this aimed at?
Mostly everybody. I mean, but if you are a freelancer looking for a way to sell yourself a little bit better and also a way to distress a little bit, because humor, after all, that's the purpose that it serves in life, making everything lighter, more bearable. So that's probably everyone out there. Even if you're not a writer, even if you're not a freelancer, some humor will probably help you. And also people who want to write genuine humor button posts or even insider content. They want to, as you said before, let their humor, their comedy creep into whatever they write. I mean, it's probably a good idea if you're writing technical articles or articles about medicine and people dying, but there is some space for dark humor. But if I wasn't you, I wouldn't start putting dark humor in articles about cancer. But it's for everybody more or less. But you're supposed to have some degree of some ability to write. You must know at least the basics of what humor is or what slapstick humor is compared to deadpan humor and whatever.
Yeah, I'd add it's for anybody who writes to sell their services as a freelancer to even get a job. And also anyone who's interested in knowing how we can be a bit more human and real, because I think most people would agree that artificial intelligence and generative content is not particularly funny.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
No.
I find deeply
It's not
unfunny.
able. It's not able to make anything funny, but don't forget that artificial intelligence may not be funny, but genuine cretinism is never funny. So don't use that, because the worst thing that you can do is try too much to be funny, especially on socials, because you can quickly become icky and creepy, and that's something you don't want to do, especially when cold calling clients.
Let's answer this question. How hard is it to write humor in a culture that is not your own? That's something that you have experience of. I have
Yeah,
less experience of that.
it's really hard. It's really hard, not just because, I mean, the first thing we probably think is the language barrier, which is a thing. It's always a thing, but it's the less of the issues here, because language barriers make it hard for you to think about jokes, especially if you are talking like me right now, because you have to think to time to re-elaborate. But what makes really difficult is understanding a different humor from yours, because every culture has its own humor. I mean, if you look at a supposedly funny movie from France, for example, if you're not French, you will start crying after a while, because it's it will bore you to tears. You will never laugh at it, never. You will think that all those people what they're talking about. And not to talk about German humor doesn't even exist, for example. It's a legend, it's a myth, they never laugh. And so that's the issue. You have to understand how your own humor is different from the humor of the culture you will want to write for. And for most of the time, like 90% of the time, you're gonna write humor for American audiences and British audiences, but like 75% it's gonna be for American audiences anyway. So why it is so different? Every culture laughs at different things in different ways. For example, in Italy, I can make you an example in Italy because I'm Italian. We took self-deprecation to a very different degree, and it's like it's a different character. What makes us really laugh is a person who is a complete and abject failure. Some of the most iconic and humorous characters are people who are complete failure in everything in their lives, like Fantozzi, for example, or Aldo Giovanni Giacomo, or Checco Zalone. They are people who are absolute idiots. The entire society is more or less against them. They can't do anything. They are failures there, but they're just sometimes cunning, sometimes they are not. And this is because we Italian find funny to see someone who is absolutely below us. We don't want the character to be successful in some way. If it is successful, it's not comic anymore. I mean, he can find some kind of payoff at the end of the story if there is a story, but we don't want him to be successful. The very moment he becomes successful, he starts up becoming a member of that uh, level of society where people stop being funny. People who are in charge, people who command, people who make decisions are not funny people. The people below are funny people. So the working class, the poor, are funny for us. In the United States, you cannot do something like that because even self-deprecating, kind of clumsy characters are never completely unsuccessful in life. Like most banal examples are like Homer Simpson or Fry from Futurama or BoJack Horseman. If you think about them, they have some degree of success in life. Homer is a successful family person. He has a good family, provides for them. He loves them. He's loved from them. Or Fry, it was a complete failure back in 2000s, but he is a successful man in the future. Not so successful. He's clumsy. He does idiotic things, but he managed to earn his living. BoJack Horseman, yeah, he is a failure right now, but he wasn't. He's a celebrity. So as much hysterical he can be, he's still a successful person in one way. And this story goes to a point where he gets back the success he lost. So you cannot make a character so much below everyone because that's a different way to tell jokes, to make funny characters. That's just an example. There are many other examples. For example, we are much more dark in our humor. The idea is that satire should not look anyone in the face. So we are more akin to laugh. In fact, it's very successful for us, South Park, because South Park doesn't pull punches. But in the United States, South Park is successful, but it's a risky business because there are a lot of things you cannot say. People can get offended. The idea here is that if you get offended, you are in the wrong. That's the thing. You should never get offended. Nobody should ever get offended. Because for us, humor, in our culture, humor was born out of satire. The origins would come from Boccaccio, which was criticizing. It's even older. It comes from ancient Rome. Humor was made to criticize people in power, and that's the thing. They cannot get offended because if they do, sometimes they did. There are a lot of senators who took the people who got fun of them and had them flayed alive or something, and that wasn't funny for them, I suppose. And but the thing is, if you flay
I thought
someone,
you meant US senators for a minute. I was like, that
sorry,
doesn't still happen, does
no,
it?
no, no, that was ancient Rome. And you can fly someone alive in public, But if you do, you will lose your reputation. That the person will probably lose his skin and muscles, but you will lose your reputation. Doesn't work. So the idea is, if the comedian must be free to say whatever they want, whenever they want, and that's not the case for US, not for the British. The British have a very keen sense of humor, which is very self-deprecating, but it's more, mental, less physical. We have a lot of slapstick humor that is more related to physical things, scatological things. The disgust is part of the fun here. And that's the thing, you have to understand what your culture humor is. Why doesn't work with other cultures?
I
Why?
mean, really, when we write online, we're writing to a world audience. If we write in English, then it's to English readers, but they may come from many different places. So I guess what we're trying to get to the bottom of is what topics and ways can what topics can writers use, and what ways can they be funny, which are more accepted in lots of different cultures. I mean, I think there are a few generalisms. Some that you've just touched on is make fun of the power. Make fun of the top brass. Like an example would be on LinkedIn. If you make fun of Simon Sinek, that's okay because he's got 20 million followers and he's the best, and everybody loves what he says. And just one naysayer saying, I think what he says is rubbish, um, is kind of funny because lots of other people think that, and isn't really going to hurt his success. On the other hand, it can be risky to make fun of the victim. If we say, oh, you can't make a joke about World War II, well, you can, of course you can. We can make a joke about any topic, but making fun of the victim in a situation is where we get into risky territory. So, one of my tips would be it's generally accepted that we can make fun of ourselves and we can make fun of the top brass, the top power in an environment, in a situation. Maybe don't throw your CEO under the under the bus.
Yeah.
Are there any other
That's a,
any other
that's what
aspects
we.
that are more generally funny, Claudio?
I mean, what you just said, making fun of the victim, is what is humor in Italy, for example, but not just in Italy, even many other Eastern European and Southern European cultures. Making fun of the victim is like liberating because you are the victim. So you're not making fun of someone else. You're making fun
Hmm.
of you or your class.
Yeah.
But now, yes, that's not acceptable. So you shouldn't do that because a lot of people will get offended because, yeah, I mean, the fun aspect of LinkedIn, as you said before, it comes to the, let's call it toxic positivity. You have to be positive. There is no real space for anything that is dark, or anything that is negative. I mean, it should be always affirmative humor. So you can make fun of something, as you said, like which is in power, but you should never become a naysayer. You should not attack too many things too often. It's fine to do that from time to time. It's fine if you attack yourself from time to time, but again, as I said before, you have to showcase that you are successful. So it's dangerous territory if you do that too much, because after all, yes, you want to be a buffoon, you want to be a clown, but you also want to be a person who employers will take seriously. So they need to know that you are a serious person. So you can make fun of your failures sometimes, but you have to handpick those failures very carefully. And on the other side, you can do like what I do, for example. I make fun of the exaggeration. So, for example, I took as my pronouns your mighty, your I. That's an exaggeration. I tend to say extremely cool. I'm the coolest person. I'm like a superhero. That's obviously not true, but it's a way to exaggerate things, make very core, even making uh, accidents up, or telling stories that are absolutely not true. And it's a way to intermingle the absurd, and that's part of the absurd comedy. The absurd comedy is hard to master, because if it's too absurd, people won't understand it, they won't laugh at it. But it's kind of very refined type of humor, but it works, absolutely works, because it surprises you. And it's a very good way to show that you're an intelligent people, because absurd comedy is strictly for intelligent and well-educated people. It's the opposite side of slapstick. Slapstick is very common folk. It's very easy to physical. After all, I personally love slapstick over everything else. I think it's the highest form of humor because it's the lowest one. But again, I'm Italian, so it's kind of normal. But absurd, on the other side, is a very sort of logic kind of humor. It will show that you are intelligent people. It will show that you have the ability to use words in the right way. That horrendous term, wordsmith. I want to be that person in power who flays people when people say wordsmith. And yeah, ancient Rome was a wonderful place. But the thing is, you want to tell other people, I am the right person to hire. So I am a person who is, oh, the usual stuff. I'm attentive, I'm proactive, I'm that bullshit that you throw when you do interviews. So that's what you want to condense in your kind of humor.
Touching on what you said about sort of tropes and themes, the themes of like supercharge your content with 58 great AI prompts, that sounds kind of real, and we can exaggerate that to get a lot of comedy from it. And I think where the line is between reality and exaggeration, what makes that funny is how honest it is. So a lot of stuff that we curate and share in our lives on any digital platform is to what extent that's honest is difficult to say. But LinkedIn especially has a tendency to be quite dishonest and to really cherry pick all of these wonderful life lessons that you got when you're a kid. Uh, did a I had an accident and wet the bed or something. It's like, do we
Get
really
the,
need to?
the humble bragging.
Yeah, there's so much comedy to be derived from that. So another um, butt of the joke that I think is okay to pick is these tropes, is these trends. If we go back to the idea of supercharging your content, well, with 58 AI hacks or something, well, you can just exaggerate that and really make fun of people who are selling that kind of dishonesty, I would say.
Yeah, but again, that's dangerous territory, because one thing you should never ever do is to repeat the same jokes over and over again. I'll tell you a story. We have a couple of comedians here in Italy which are pretty famous, which are called the soliti idioti, which is translated the usual idiots. And they're exactly that. They are extremely idiot, because they made up a few jokes like 10 years ago, just a few um, uh, they made up some characters that they repeat some catchphrases, and they repeated the same catchphrases for 10 years straight, like not once, twice, 20 times. It may still be funny, but 10 years of repeating the same catchphrases, it's grinding, it's painful at some point. And that's what they do, that's what they always did, that always still do to this very day. So they stopped at being funny like 9 years ago. The other 9 years were repeating the same joke. So that's the thing. Some comedians, whenever you make a joke, whenever people laugh at what you just said or wrote, you will have that dopamine rush telling you that I did something right. People are laughing at what I did. And the temptation is to repeat that joke, like slightly change it, or it's the same when you see a joke that is funny, you laugh at it, you will think, I want to make that joke too. So you start repeating tropes, and you start repeating things that you've heard or things that you've said over and over again. They will stop being funny very, very quickly. And even if you create a style, because that's very important, having your voice, having your own style, you must change constantly, because humor becomes old very quickly. Making fun of the same things over and over again, people are probably heard that joke at 100 times over again from someone who's certainly more humorous than you, but not because it's a better person than you, but because I can make 10 jokes, one of them is funny, the other nine are not so funny, and the same happens to the next guy. That joke was the better one he got, the other nine are not so good, but people will only care about the funniest joke for every category. So do not repeat the same, not same tropes, do not choose the same topics everybody does, because the most boring and dry thing I can find today is opening my feed and seeing the 100th joke about the 10 pairs. Stop, please, don't make that joke again. No, no, please, please. That's also what I think when I see the feed and see, okay, the 10 pair idiots, and then the 10 pair joke idiots. That's another type of idiot. I don't think those people are fun. So build something that is part of your character, but also experiment with different kind of humors. Try to test yourself. Sometimes deadpan is perfect, sometimes self-deprecation is perfect, sometimes exaggeration is perfect, but anything that you use more than twice won't work.
I mean, essentially, one of the key elements of humor is surprise, whether it's a funny item at the end of a list of three or the nuance between, a very long passage and a short one, and it's imbalance or surprise. And I like what you said about just try, go for like 10 jokes because people will respect you for trying. That's part of being likable, is like you are putting yourself out there, you are putting it on the line, whatever it is, but certainly on, social media, just try. And I think there are some easier ways that you can get likes and some harder ways that you can get laughs, but doing a mixture is maybe a good idea as well. We're going to go into some of the ways that how
Mm.
you can do this, because we've been a bit vague so far, just talked about types of comedy. Before we do that, let's move on to that and say, how can writers, people who are listening, use humor to improve their chances of finding a job, getting a client, connecting with somebody beneficial?
Yeah, the one of the things that I always believed are the best way to make people laugh with jokes is time them perfectly. The timing is everything. I mean, if you are in a table talking with other people and making, the funniest moments are the most genuine and spontaneous ones. They are never something that you wrote before and waiting for the exact moment when you say that, except it's a form of absurd and deadpan together. So if you really have a anti-humor joke ready, and for example, when everyone is laughing, you stop everyone and tell a joke that has no punchline, doesn't make anyone laugh, and that will take everyone by surprise. As you said before, surprise is everything. But again, surprise is part of timing, because whenever humor is all about breaking the timing of a conversation, is like splitting everything in two. Everything was one way up to a point, then you drop the joke and everything changes. It's like a sudden change of color. That's what you want to aim for, changing everything all of a sudden. Usually the straightest way, the straightest path to this is the punchline. So you say something that builds up to a punchline. That's the most basic form of humor, but that's not necessarily the only thing. For example, can you show the first example, the one with Maria?
Yep, sure. Let me just put that on screen. I should say to everyone, just while I'm queuing this up, I've got an issue with your comments coming into the streaming software. I can see them on LinkedIn. So keep posting your questions and I'll do my best to share them and we'll answer your questions at the end. So if you've got questions, get them in.
Don't trust him. He's just trying to censor you because he's British.
Getting all these difficult questions.
Yeah, that's a very simple example. I usually don't like to quote myself, but this one was so perfect that it was the perfect example. And so that was a serious post. This is a serious marketer. This is the head of an agency. So she was writing something, to find new clients, to show she knows what she's talking about, and she definitely knows what she's talking about. And it took 10 seconds for me to write this joke. And that's the point. If more than this, other comments will start stacking up and it will become a serious conversation, and my joke will be completely out of place because they were talking about marketing stuff, very serious stuff, and I will be completely out of place even if the joke was perfect. Timing in this case was attacking the topic immediately with a joke that it's all about taking her words and changing it. And as you said before, I'm attacking Microsoft in this joke. So I'm attacking the absolute power. Nobody can tell anything about that because it's Microsoft. They are so successful. I work for them too. So it's like, okay, you are shooting a pea to a giant. So doing nothing. But the thing is, how quickly I am to react. That's very important in humor. Quick reactions, and that's part of the genuine flow. If I took too much time, if the joke seemed too much elaborated, it wouldn't work. And it worked. She laughed. She wasn't supposed to do that in her own topic, because probably killed the mojo, but it was fun. So that is
It's a great way to build a relationship with someone by
exactly.
building
Yeah, but we
on
will
what
talk
they've
about that
written, by
later.
commenting. Something
Exactly.
I definitely recommend. Save some jokes for the comments, because rather than just writing haha that was funny, if somebody writes something amusing, like, build on it. I have another example of this actually that I've got queued up ready to go. And I put this on screen, hope you can see this. This is a writer who wrote something funny. She said, if I see one more of these generic lines, I'll move to Nepal and live there as a goat. There's many things I like about that joke, and I thought that was funny. And I decided, rather than just saying, oh, haha, good one, you build on it. You use the comedy that this writer has generated and, make some more jokes. And as you can see, a few people thought that was funny too. So it's great for relationship building. It's great for boosting, elevating what people have already written. So definitely use some comedy in the comments.
Building comedy over comedy. It's great. It takes skill. That's absolutely takes skill, because you have to take a joke and make another joke which must be at least as fun as the first one, because otherwise it will look like a cretin. So think about that before doing this, because it's risky, but it pays off absolutely, because this way you show that person and everybody else that you are funny, and you are finding a lot of people who are already in the mood for a laugh, because that comment, that topic, that post was fun already. So everyone it's like when everybody is laughing around the table and you make another joke, so everyone is ready for it. But if your joke is terrible, you will look very, very bad. So yes, that's
That's the danger that we love of comedy. Just don't steal
yes.
people's jokes. I guess this happened to you, but when you tell somebody at the dinner table the joke and then they repeat it to everyone and they get the laugh, oh man, that makes me. Don't be that person. Don't be that person who steals a joke.
Yes, absolutely. But one way or the other, we always steal something from someone else. There is nothing original, really original in this world. But that's the thing. That's what we said before. You have to try to be as original as possible, as genuine as possible. You have to think with your own head. Don't take something from someone else because chances are people already use that a lot of times. So please make the other example because I want to show another thing about timing.
Sure.
The Natalie
Yeah, let's
screenshot.
show this. This is a longer one, so
Yeah.
buckle up, everybody. This is a longer post.
Okay. So this post, I will let you simmer for a while. This post is fun because it's all about the time. I mean, it's not the usual. It's like we said before. Not everything builds up to a punchline. There's no punchline here. It's a very, very long form, scarcely punctuated post. I mean, this person, I can tell. I mean, she's a great writer. She's using very little punctuation on purpose. She can absolutely write. She's a fantastic writer, by the way. And but she's doing that to create an absurd situation where the fun here it's on several layers. It's not just the story that is extremely funny because it's extremely absurd, but also very relatable because everyone had that aunt who forcefully feed you one point in life, and that kind of extremely embarrassing situations where you know it's something that is easily relatable. But what makes this post extremely humorous is the fact that she using this style, but besides the lack of punctuation, the James Joyce free flow of thoughts, what makes it fun is that there is an internal pacing. It's accelerating. The more you read it, the more it becomes quicker and faster and frantic. So there is a rhythm in this post that is really hard to duplicate because it's unique, and that's the first thing that will make you laugh. You never seen something like that, or you probably had, but it's very hard to find. It's extremely rare. So this already makes it fun, but then it's becoming more absurd, more surreal as you read it, and quicker and faster, and it's confusing you. So that's what I mean when I talk about pacing and timing. It's hard to replicate something like this, but if you are able to, it means that you are building a style. You're making something that is unique.
So my
Obviously,
advice.
yes,
Sorry to jump in. I was just going. I totally agree. I think it's very funny. Great. Great piece. In order to replicate it, I would say it's about noticing the tropes and trends. So it's very small on my screen. Natalie has noticed that most people don't format LinkedIn posts like this. So she's done it differently.
yeah,
Natalie has noticed that, um, many other people will probably relate to this. Natalie has noticed that people tie business lessons to very different things on LinkedIn. So she's done the same and is probably making fun of that too. Natalie has noticed that, it isn't the norm to have such a gigantic, long sentence paired with a very short uh, sort of ending. So it's that contrast that makes it funny. And I think if you, as writers, can notice some of those things, you can start to build a comedy piece like this. And I like that point you made about us getting quicker and quicker. And this demonstrates a lot of writing skill because it ain't easy to write a 150 word sentence or however long that first one is, and keep it grammatically, sensible.
yeah. But one thing that is like very, very subtle about this is that it feels genuine. It feels genuine all the way through because it really feels like a sentence that you can form in your head. It feels like she is telling you a story, like when you are talking with someone and you're already laughing after the first sentence and you keep laughing louder and louder as much as more as you tell the story. And also, and that's kind of banal, but it's very important, there is a story behind this post, and people love stories. So every time you can, you should try to tell a story because stories are fun. It's very human because it's talking about human people. It's not talking about job or work or trends or whatever. It's talking about her aunt, her brother, herself. It's completely out of place in LinkedIn, part of the humor because it takes you by surprise. Well, why I'm writing about your aunt.
But there's
And
also why AI can't make something funny,
no,
because it's going to tell you a generic joke about, what did the computer say to the mouse or something. It's like they're inanimate objects, nobody cares, and it's just
no.
like boring, safe wordplay. Whereas a personal story like that is sharing something much more that that we connect with.
She's also making fun of herself, so it's self-deprecating, but it's also making fun of an old woman. Oh no, that's something you should never touch, but she doesn't care. She's also making fun of her brother, who is, you know, taking advantage of her to give her all her dad is giving her the sweets to her. So there are many characters in this story, and all those characters are characters. They are not real humans, but they also feel real humans. They also feel genuine, so they feel people you can meet, people you already know. That's the kind of things that make every joke funny. It should be relatable. You should feel that is something that is talking to yourself. Every joke must be like I'm talking to you, not just to a general audience. One of the things I hate for about American stand-up comedians is that it's like they are not talking to you. They're talking to everyone else. They're talking to a general public, and they're not so funny. But if I make it like I'm talking to you, even if I'm not talking directly to you, like the comment before, the one you did, you are talking to that person, but everyone else is like looking at a conversation between you and that person. So it's really personal, it's human. Again, it's not what AI can do. Like, not probably in the next 3 months.
So we've talked about commenting. Sorry, did you have something else to add?
No, no, I
You,
said that
you raised your
AI
hand
can
like a sort of Gandalf
AI cannot do
gesture.
that. AI cannot do that for the next, at least for the next 3 months. Then it will.
And if it can do it, it's fake, so it doesn't mean anything. Like if AI could comment on your post in a really funny and meaningful way, it's not coming from a person, so you just flat out don't care about it. Like I read some news that Stephen Bartlett is starting an AI publishing company, and I thought, okay, send me that book that's AI optimized or written by a computer. I could not care about it. It just have zero connection with it. Even if the words make sense, even if it's engaging, it's not based in a world that I want to be a part of. So I
You
would
know what
say,
they are doing? They are doing that because it will well on Google or it will rank well on LinkedIn. So it's an algorithm talking to another algorithm. And it's literally machines talking to other machines. So where is the human being in there? But it's a way to be successful because if the machines decide everything. Because if you don't exist on Google, if you don't exist on LinkedIn, you don't exist anywhere. So that's the thing. We are becoming slaves of the machine day by day.
it's certainly more niche to be a human writer doing human things, speaking to humans. But at the moment, I think that's where the value is. We're getting a little bit off topic because we'll just start hating on ChatGPT. But I want to ask you, we've talked about commenting, we've talked about posting.
Yeah.
These are types of comedy humor that writers can do to get ahead, to connect with the right kinds of people, get opportunities. What about DMs or cold pitching? Would you recommend that writers use humor in that as
Absolutely.
well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's everything these days because whenever you find a freelancing gig on LinkedIn, you will notice that there are at least 100 comments within the a few
And
hours.
94% of them are, I'm interested.
Yes. And the thing is, if you look at I mean, be honest about that. I may have the strongest resume in the world. I may have worked with the best clients in the world, but I am so different from the next guy who also has some experience. I mean, yes, if you are inexperienced compared to one who is experienced, there is a difference. But let's say me compared to another writer who has also 15 years of experience and has worked with other big names. Am I so different? And the answer is no. The honest answer is no. There is no real difference. At one point, you are good at writing. You know what the market needs from you. What are the techniques that you are required to use? All the nuances. That's it. That's it. You're good. You are just as good as the next guy. So, what makes any remote difference between you and the other, let's say 25 writers who have a good resume that could match that company's needs? And it's literally that your person, who you are, because your skills are all over the place like everybody else's. But one difference with them is what it is working with you. How are you able to commit? How dependable you are? How honest you are? How quickly you can deliver these kind of things. But is that they have no way to tell that.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it's a total risk, and they know that. So what you can do to show them that, yeah, I'm the best person to work with, not just because I'm good. That's kind of pretty comes with the territory, but I'm also a fun guy to work with, a light-hearted person to work with, which is very extremely important because work is boring, is tedious, is grinding. So you want to have someone who can put you a smile on your face, who can, gets off your shoulders, whatever that means. How can you tell? A good joke, a fresh take, a short but compelling DM is a strong weapon because it tells I am able to write short and concisely. I can deliver the message with a few words, so I'm a wordsmith, please kill me. But I am also a fun person to work with. I'm a good person. I'm a nice employee. And that's all you can do. I mean, a joke, something that shows that you're not taking yourself so seriously. Even, for example, saying, I work with this and this and this, which is extremely impressive, and then saying something extremely self-deprecating is a way to surprise them, to, you know, emerge, make yourself be noticed, because
yeah.
otherwise you're not so different from the I'm interested or the 100 people who are just copy pasting the link to their portfolio or saying I'm extremely good. Yeah, I know that you're good, but you are no different from everyone else. So why I should care?
Perhaps these people are passionate. That's another one, which is I've used. A passionate wordsmith would probably be your
And
absolute
proactive.
nightmare of a person to
Yeah,
interact
passion.
with. Yeah, love what you said about just stand out, just be different. I think you're taking more of a risk if you play it safe. If you say I'm interested, you are 100% wasting your time. That's a risk to me. That's like you've
You
wasted
nailed
your
it.
time researching that job. You've wasted your time writing I'm interested. You've wasted your time getting your hopes up. You
Hmm.
have to be different and appreciate that in the digital world, hiring managers, editors, everyone is getting like 500 CVs. So they use the filtering process of If it's the same, I don't care. They're not going to be interested in what you write. Also, I've
Sadly
had
so.
that writing something funny, and it can just be 2 or 3 words. It can just be like a little simile that you use or a little image that you throw in that is, I've got more X than Y. Well, it's kind of funny. And it shows that you're willing to take risk, but it also shows writing skill that you have been able to craft something out of the ordinary. So I think you're almost taking more of a risk if you don't include something which is extraordinary, and saying I'm extraordinary is not extraordinary. It's
No,
ordinary.
no, absolutely not. No, but it's there is a fine line between telling them that you're good and showing them that you're good. It's like in media, show not tell. So you should be able to show them that you're good, possibly in other ways, like not necessarily with the sentence that you wrote in that, that comment. Maybe it's what you got on your profile, maybe it's your title. Some people use fancy titles instead of just writer, or maybe in your portfolio, but hardly should be something you say. Sometimes it could, sometimes it shouldn't. And then after you show them that you're good and say something that is absolutely unique, then it comes to the second part, which is the DM. Because if you pass the first screening, and don't think that I am successful 100% of the time, not even close, it's impossible to be. So don't feel like you are not doing a good job if they don't answer you. Most of the time, like at least in my experience, at least 70% of those job postings that you see are going nowhere. They're not going to choose anyone for that job. So it's not you or anyone else in that list, it's them. And you are not going to be picked because they're not going to pick anyone. Sometimes it's just, I won't say fraud, but kind of like they are asking for either free or underpaid tests, which are nothing but ways to get some content for free or for a very low price. That's also a thing these days. And it's not so infrequent as you can think, even for big companies. But then, whatever it comes up, if they answer you, if you start a discussion, if you start talking with that person, it comes to the DM, that's not so easy. It's not so immediate as I will throw a few jokes, I will, copy paste that joke that I made 100 times. No, I do not advise doing so. Research who that person is. Look who that person is. Have a look at their profile. Have a look at their comments. Have a look at what they find funny. Because you don't want to fall flat on your face by saying something that could offend that person or can make that person feel uneasy. Because it's easy inside DMs to look creepy, very creepy. And you have to be absolutely sure. Once you have done your research, then speak your mind and try to be a person. That's very important. Don't look like a robot making a joke. Don't look like you are reusing the same joke for everyone else. Make something unique, make something. I know it takes more work, but trust me, it's not so much work because the people who will actually engage in a conversation in DMs are so few that it won't take so much, and it's worth it. Because if the first impression that you make is everything, people will remind you forever for that conversation. That interaction is your lifeline for the time being, probably for the future. So think about that carefully.
Wise words. Before we get onto some questions, because I can see you've got some, I won't be able to share them on the screen, but I'll just read them out and we'll do our best to answer. I will drop a couple of links in the chat, so check after the event with an article about how to use a couple of techniques for humor and how to write funny carousels. Well, I think they're funny anyway, so I hope you do too. I'll just drop those in the LinkedIn chat, and if you're watching elsewhere, you'll be able to find them too. Um, If Claudio has any resources, I'm sure he'll share them too after. Let's get to some questions. I can see we've got a couple of questions. I wanted to ask Amarachi's question, which is: should writers read and practice jokes to get better, or should it always be spur of the moment? What are your thoughts?
No, I don't think it is something that you can really train. I mean, you can test jokes, but you should do that in real life because you want to extract the better from human interactions. So the more you try things, the more robotic it becomes. That to a certain degree, because you want to be sure that you have enough skills with writing in a language that is not yours. So you want to be sure that the jokes actually make sense in English, which is not always so simple. There are a lot of jokes that get forever lost in translation. I can absolutely guarantee that I'm much funnier person in my language, and there is nothing I can do about that.
I suppose humor doesn't have to be jokes. It doesn't have to be a one-line question and answer, because those often do rely on linguistic, like double meanings of words or things which, as Claudia said, are lost in
Workplace.
translation. I would say you can read, what you love, but analyze it and say, why was that funny? Oh, because there's a really long paragraph and then something short, and you think, oh well, I can add that into my writing. Maybe I can write something similar. Um, Practice jokes. I mean, you have to practice to some extent. As Claudio said earlier, you have to have 9 non-funny jokes to get one funny one. There's an element of failure out of it. We're writers. We're used to getting rejected and like nobody paying attention to us. So I would say go for it, and reading and practice
One thing you
can
can
help.
do is, as you correctly said, is read, because read become means absorbing. I mean, if there is some kind of humor that you really find funny, read it. Don't overanalyze it. Just try to absorb and replicate it however you want. Most of the time, you will learn something out of it, even if it's just how to fail, which is also as much as important as how to be successful.
We've got another question from Katerina. She says she'd love to know whether we recommend using AI as a source of ideas or inspiration to add some humor into your writing.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because AI is the exact opposite of what I just said. One thing you can use with the AI, and I use it because I admit that quite frankly, is to fix what you wrote, like fix grammar, make sure that everything is what you wanted it to be. So whether it is a sentence or a joke or a post or whatever, you can tell AI, this is funny, this is supposed to be funny. Please check the grammar. Please sure that the sentence is what I wanted to say, and what I wanted to say, you write that in your language, is this. I can tell you, yes, I understand what you were wanting to say. You probably should say it this way, and can correct you and fix it. Never ask the AI to brainstorm for you, because it's absolutely a failure. I have a lot of experience with this. I am an AI prompter. I did this job for 7 months, more or less. I wrote thousands of prompts. It never makes any funny joke. It's completely unable. Even I'm talking about ChatGPT 4.0, because I use all the most advanced, because I have accounts with Gemini Advanced, whatever. It's never funny. It's super
I
stupid.
mean,
And
it can copy a popular joke. So I would have a different opinion to
hardly.
Claudio and say, um, if you are looking for the top 20 jokes about dogs, it will give you the most popular ones, the ones that it finds. Whether they're good or not, I'm not saying to use them, but as inspiration, I think it can work. So let's say you're writing an article on dogs. Don't ask ChatGPT to write a funny article on dogs, because it will not be funny for the reasons that Claudio said. But if you ask it to do some research of like what are 10 problems that dog owners have, oh, well, okay, you might, from those problems, you may be able to write or create humor yourself. So, as a brainstorming tool, I would say it can work, but you need to know how to construct the jokes or the humor yourself.
I think it's
Claudio's
a
looking
brainstorming tool.
horrified.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a brainstorming tool if you want a
I have to
lesson.
say, I don't use it, but I think it's all right to use it for brainstorming.
It's a way to, if you want a lesson in what cringe word is, if you want to know exactly what cringe is, ask AI to make jokes. You will learn like in no time what anti-humor is, and if you're good with that, that's a good way. I mean, but again, I know very few people who can use anti-humor successfully. It's extremely complicated. I definitely no, I can, but rarely.
I'm just looking if we've got any more questions coming in. Thanks, says Katerina. Yeah, thanks for coming. I don't think we've got any more questions at the moment. And apologies for not sharing them on the screen. Tech issues. I am going to drop in the description or the comments on all of these places where this is being streamed, those two resources that I talked about. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Before we go, Claudio, have you got any final hilarious
Yeah,
words of
I have a
wisdom,
final
or
remark. No,
where
it's
can
not
people
funny.
find you?
It's not hilarious, but it's something I want to tell to our audience. Just
Go for it.
always remember that humor is not just for other people; it's for you as well. Use humor to laugh in life. It's important to survive in this world. Making fun of yourself will help you face all the adversities that we need to face, will help you take rejections with a grain of salt, which is extremely important these days.
Yeah, great note to finish on. Thanks so much for coming. Where can people find you, Claudio?
Oh, whatever. I'm an hobo, so I live in the street. So you just get down, get off your house, look for a church. I'm here there asking for pennies. Do you have some spare
With
change?
your fancy
No.
headset on.
No, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's the channel I use mostly these days.
All right. Yeah, if you have any more questions about being funny or comments or thoughts, then just let us know. Get in touch with us both. And thanks so much for coming, everyone. Hope you found it enlightening or humorous.
Thank you, Philip.
All right,
Goodbye,
thanks,
everyone.
everyone.